What's up, guys? I'm Christiana for CarPlayer TV here with Jonathan Jaffe, also known as Iftarii Online. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Just busted, so.
Yeah, I saw that, but that's okay. I mean, you specifically do play heads-up sit and goes, is that right?
Yeah.
How did you get started playing that?
Just a buddy taught me playing $20 sit and goes a few years back, and kind of caught on for me.
Okay, so when you're sitting down to play online poker, do you just play one sit and go, or do you play multiple heads-up sit and goes?
Probably 2 at a time on average, between 1 and 3, occasionally more.
And what kind of buy-ins do you play?
Between 500 and 5,000, mostly 1,000, 2,000.
Gotcha. Oh, it's so funny that you mentioned, or that we're talking about this, because the other day I was watching, or I was looking on PokerStars, a $5,000 heads-up no limit hold'em game, and someone had signed up and must have forgotten about it, and then another guy signed on and he just blinded the guy out. He just totally.
That's happened to me.
Has it happened to you?
Oh yeah, I was
Maybe
making
it was
pancakes,
you.
forgot about it. I came back with 400 chips, but I won, so it was nice.
Oh, nice,
yeah.
Nice. Okay, so let's talk about heads-up sit and goes. Well, first, what's the biggest difference between playing heads-up sit and go, and playing heads-up cash game?
I guess you got a difference right there. You just mentioned if somebody's not there for heads-up cash game, you can't really blind them out. I guess they sit out after a bit. But no, the real difference is are the blinds going up. That's the big difference. You kind of have to get good at playing a short stack also, so there's a bit of a tournament element to the sit and goes. Cash game is all deep stack play. It goes a little bit deeper with, 4 bets and stuff like that. Heads-up sit and goes, it's generally the blind difference. That's the big difference, is being able to play at 50, 100 level with 1,200 chips, because that really doesn't come up in heads-up cash. Okay,
well, let's kind of walk through the steps of a heads-up sit and go. So when the blinds are the lowest, you start with 1,500 chips, and the blinds are 25-50, or excuse me, 10-20. How do you proceed, and how do you begin the tournament?
Well, you're 75 big blinds deep, so it's deep, but it's not super deep. It's not the kind where you're going to often be 4-bet bluffing and then let a hand go. But, you standard raise pretty much every button between 40 and 60. Different people have different styles. Not many people go beyond 3 times the big blind anymore. And pretty much play the flops with a semi-deep stack. Then 15-30 comes around, and then it becomes, if you're playing a good opponent, you're often going all in over standard raises to 90, just because that's about 1/20th of your stack, so that's a pretty heavy amount. When 25-50 rolls around, you're going to see that a lot more pre-flop all-ins. 15-30 is kind of a transition period between pre-flop and post-flop poker. 10-20 is definitely a post-flop phase. 15-30 transition. 25-50 starts becoming much more about pre-flop play, and 50-100 is pretty much all pre-flop play unless you're playing with a very weak player.
Okay, let's say you do get that deep into a sit and go when the blinds are 50-100. What kind of hands? I mean, you can't. It seems like you can't really raise to 300 and then fold if they raise. So would you just suggest going all in with any type of hand that you're going to play?
Yeah, if you're playing a competent opponent, I would suggest, with 900 chips, 8-9 offsuit is an all-in hand from the button.
Really?
Some very weak hands. You shouldn't be trying to play a pot with ace-4 suited. You should just be going all in. King-jack, even, I mean, King-7 is a very understandable all-in for 1,000 chips.
Okay, now when you're playing a sit and go heads up, do you notice that there are very different types of opponents that you play? Or now, these days, is everybody just an aggressive or a small ball player? Or what do you think? Is there lots of different kinds of players?
Yeah, people have gotten much smarter and more aggressive. You don't see many people fold themselves away at 50-100 anymore. Most people have caught on to the fact that you need to move all in a lot and you need to gamble a lot. With the exception of a few fish who come around here and there, you pretty much got a lot of strong players looking to scrape at whatever profits can be made.
What's the biggest mistake that players make playing heads-up sit and goes?
Game selection. A lot of people play people where PokerStars is the only one making the money. There's a lot of good players going head-to-head at each other.
Okay, and then they're just trading back and forth and then feeding the rake?
Yep.
Gotcha. What do you think that your edge is playing heads-up sit and goes? What makes you so good? What do you do better than other players?
I'm a lot more apathetic than most. I'm okay with having a terrible day, and it doesn't bother me. I don't really tilt. I just take each game as it goes, and remember the hands and remember what can be gained strategy-wise, but I don't carry a bad beat with me beyond 5 minutes, so
Okay.
kind of don't get prolonged tilt.
Playing sit and goes heads up online, how does that work with analyzing your game afterwards? Because you have hand histories, do you ever go back through your hand histories and find your either mistakes or
I never do
leaks?
that, but I during the games, I like to go back and check the muck, see what, if I made a value bet on the river and they called, I don't just say, nice, I got the pot. I check their hands, because that's the best information you can get, is figuring out what they did with their hands, and that's kind of how I learned poker, is checking the muck.
Nice. All right, well, thank you so much for
Thanks,
stopping by. Christiana with Jonathan Jaffe for Card Player TV.